In Darfur, where there are few proper roads, donkeys are absolutely invaluable to families. They help them to transport fuel, water, food supplies. They act as ambulances, and sometimes they even take children to school on their backs. They are known as the 4x4s of Darfur. And with your support, Kids for Kids can supply them to families. They are a great testament to what can be achieved when man and beasts work together. So here then is perhaps the best poem to reflect their amazing work, The Donkey by G.K. Chesterton. When forests walked and fishes flew and figs grew upon thorn, some moment when the moon was blood, then surely I was born, with monstrous head and sickening bray and ears like errant wings, the devil's walking parody of all four-footed things, the battered outlaw of the earth of ancient crooked will, scourge, beat, deride me, I am dumb. I keep my secret still. Fools, for I also had my hour, one far fierce hour and sweet. There was a shout around my head and palms about my feet. Merry Christmas.
I'm going to play Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Well, I don't think he would get down my chimney. On behalf of myself and Thames Fanfare Brass, keep safe and happy Christmas to you all.
We're off to Darfur on a donkey. My goat, her family and me. My goat has a boat which she sails on a moat and will need it for crossing the sea. We're off to Darfur on a donkey. We're taking 2 vets and a nurse. And the donkey looks wobbly. Remember Tom Cobley, I tell him, it could be much worse. We're off to Darfur on a donkey, with trees and a pump and a cart. We're leaving today. It's a very long way, but now we're ready to start. We'll get to Darfur on our donkey, no matter how long it will take. We'll show them we care for the folks that are there. We'll get to Darfur for their sake. We'll get to Darfur on our donkey. There's work to be done in that land. the kids in Darfur are so desperately poor. You know that you must lend a hand. We'll get to Darfur on our donkey, a land that is ridden with strife. Oh, let the kids play. In their homes, let them stay. They're children. They just want a life. We'll get to Darfur on our donkey. He'll learn how to carry the sick, how gently he'll pull. Even when the cart's full, the smoothest of paths he will pick. We'll get to Darfur on our donkey. I'll come back alone on a plane. Our donkey is wise, and his destiny lies in Darfur, so he will remain.
Hello everyone, this is the Kids for Kids Christmas concert, and it's so strange not to be with you. The very fact that we're sitting here around our little screens and watching this is terribly comforting. This couldn't really be a worse time for Darfur, as the world is wrapped up in its own problems, everybody looking towards a new president and a possible vaccine. Far away, bang in the middle of Africa, is Darfur, the abandoned one. And now, more than ever, I'm begging you from the bottom of my heart to give what you can to Patricia Parker, who's the guru of all these things. She knows exactly where the money should go in the villages in Darfur, whether it's for more kids, or whether it's for water, or whether it's for training a midwife, or whether it's for planting a little tree. She knows exactly what can be done and what must be done first. So will you help us this Christmas? And give it with all the love in your heart, and I send all the love in my heart to you tonight. This little poem is called Little Tree by E. Cummings, who, as you remember, always used lowercase letters. So it's all written in lowercase with no punctuation. I've propped it up just under the camera, so that's what I'm going to be reading. Little Tree by E. Cummings. Little tree, little silent Christmas tree, you are so little, you're more like a flower. Who found you in the green forest? And were you very sorry to come away? See, I will comfort you, because you smell so sweetly. I will kiss your cool bark and hug you safe and tight, just as your mother would. Only don't be afraid. Look, the spangles that sleep all the year in a dark box, dreaming of being taken out and allowed to shine. The balls, the chains, red and gold, the fluffy threads. Put up your little arms, and I'll give them all to you to hold. Every finger shall have its ring, and there won't be a single place dark or unhappy. Then when you're quite dressed, you'll stand in the window for everyone to see. And how they'll stare. Oh, but you'll be very proud. And my little sister and I will take hands, and looking up at our beautiful tree, we'll dance and sing. Noel, Noel. Happy Christmas to you all. Thank you so much.
Hello everybody. I'm so sorry I can't be actually in person with you at the Kids for Kids concert. I have been for the last few years and it's a very precious night for me. But I hope that this offering of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens will delight you tonight and every time you read him, because he delights me. Thank you for all you do for Kids for Kids. Scrooge dressed himself all in his best and at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth, as he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present, and walking with his hands behind him. Scrooge regarded everyone with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant, in a word, that 3 or 4 good-humoured fellows said, "Good morning, sir, Merry Christmas to you." And Scrooge said often afterwards that of all the blithe sounds he'd ever heard, these were the blithest in his ears. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock, but he made a dash and did it. "Is your master at home, my dear?" said Scrooge to the girl. Nice girl, very. "Yes, sir." "Where is he, my love?" "He's in the dining room, sir, with his mistress." "He knows me," said Scrooge, with his hand already on the dining room lock. "I'll go in here, my dear." "Fred!" "Why, bless my soul," cried Fred. "Who's that?" "It's I, your Uncle Scrooge. I've come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred?" Let him in? It's a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. He was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. His niece looked just the same. So did Topper when he came. So did the plump sister when she came. So did everyone when they came. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. But he was early at the office next morning. Oh, he was early there. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late, that was the thing he'd set his heart upon. And he did it. The clock struck 9. No Bob. 1:15. No Bob. Bob was full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Scrooge sat with his door wide open, that he might see him come into the tank. Bob's hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock. "Hello?" growled Scrooge, in his accustomed voice, as near as he could feign it. "What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?" "I'm very sorry, sir. I am behind my time." "You are?" "Yes, I think you are. Step this way, if you please." "It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir." "Now, I'll tell you what, my friend. I'm not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. And therefore," Scrooge continued, leaping from his stool, "and therefore I am about to raise your salary." Bob trembled and got a little nearer to the ruler. "A Merry Christmas, Bob," said Scrooge, with an earnestness that could not be mistaken, as he clapped him on the back. "A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I've given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavour to assist your struggling family. And we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop, Bob. Make up the fires and buy a second coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit." Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but his own heart laughed, and that was good enough for him. He had no further intercourse with spirits, but lived in that respect upon the total abstinence principle. ever afterwards, and it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us, and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, every one. Thank you.
The Christmas truce of 1914 is often celebrated as a symbolic moment of peace in the continuous trench warfare that existed between Britain and Germany. Sometimes first-hand testimonies can reveal surprising events that really happened during that terrible conflict. And we have an account recorded in the 1960s by a former British soldier, Henry Williamson, who became a junior officer in the Bedfordshire Regiment and fought on the Western Front. This became one winter that he could remember and would remember for the rest of his life. On Christmas Eve, he says, the damp weather gave way to the cold and a festive frost started to settle. My team were asked to do a job in no man's land, and it put the wind up everybody. The task was to knock these wooden posts into the frozen soil, 50 yards away from the Germans. We crept out, expecting at any moment to have to fall flat and the machine guns to open up. But nothing happened. After 2 hours, they were walking about, talking and laughing. We heard nothing from the German lines. But around 11 o'clock, I saw a Christmas tree going up in the German trenches, and there was a light. We all stood still and watched this, and then a German voice began to sing the song, Heilige Nacht. The British troops immediately recognised this melody as Silent Night, Holy Night, and they began singing in English. Henry says, the German troops were saying, well, come over, Tommy, come over. We all thought it was a trap, but some of us went over at once, and they came to this barbed wire fence between us, which was 5 strands of wire hung with empty bully beef tins to make a rattle if they came. And very soon, we were exchanging gifts. The singing seemed to relax the natural hostilities. An undeclared truce erupted, and in an extraordinary turn of events, peace broke out.
At last, we're celebrating my favourite time of year, Christmas, and all the happiness it brings. I know it's been a hard year, and my heart goes out to all those who have lost a loved one, or who have struggled with COVID, or even are continuing to cope with the pain of long COVID. But now we're together, not in the beautiful St. Peter's Church in London, but in our own homes. It means so much to me to know that all of you are here because of our shared determination to look after children, whether they're close at hand or so far across the globe, to do our best to set right the injustices of this world and to give children a helping hand to a better future. I wish I could tell you that at last things are getting better in Darfur, but I can't. This time last year, people were struggling despite the huge optimism after the overthrow of Omar Bashir. The transitional government has indeed brought in new legislation to create a better future, but the years of corruption and misspending, combined with a lack of international investment while the US maintained sanctions, have left the country crippled by debt and facing desperate shortages in everything from fuel to bread and even medicine. Everyone, whether in the capital, Khartoum, or in a small remote village, is facing hardship. In the villages of Darfur, Mothers are watching their children growing weak from malnutrition. Many children can no longer attend school because there's no money to pay for it. Without the money to pay for drugs, malaria goes untreated. 60,000 people have malaria in Darfur right now. Other fatal diseases go unchecked. Chikungunya, dengue, both spread by mosquitoes, with the risk of further outbreaks growing. Even polio is spreading again because of inadequate vaccinations. Inflation, which was a shocking 166% this time last year, is now an unbelievable 212%. How can anyone budget? But it is Christmas. Surely there should be good news. Well, there is. We have not stopped helping, and thanks to you, our wonderful, loyal and generous friends, we've been able to extend life-saving assistance to hundreds more families. In February, my son and I went to Darfur at last, after being prevented from doing so for 9 long years. Thinking about it, even now, brings tears to my eyes. Of course, I've been kept up to date with the minutiae of all we do. Real sustainability depends on keeping on top of the detail. But to see our kindergartens in real life and to talk to the children who go to them, well, that was unforgettable. I wish you could have been with us. At every village, crowds were waiting to tell us what a difference we'd made to the lives of each and every one of them. And it was even more overwhelming in Umjal, our very first village where Ibrahim lives, the little 9-year-old whose walk across the desert for water inspired me to start Kids for Kids 20 years ago, in 2001. Over 1,000 people waited to welcome us. And with them was that small boy, grown taller than Alistair now, and with his own children. His eldest son is at kindergarten, our kindergarten. There are no words to express how I felt, how he felt. So many lives have been changed because of that one small boy and his walk for water. And what have we done to help this year? Well, you all know about our soap appeal. Its impact is immense, truly life-saving. There's no medical help for ordinary villagers. We went to the main hospital at Malid. The people who work there do their best. But how can a doctor care for a patient when there's no oxygen, with a broken stethoscope, no blood pressure gauges? I could go on. Someone with COVID has no chance. Our aim has always been to do all we can to stop problems from becoming catastrophes. Our soap has done just that. Every family in all our 105 villages has been given 5 bars of soap each. We know that soap breaks down the membrane of the virus. Incidence of COVID in our villages has been much less than feared. The logistics of getting over 500,000 bars of soap to Darfur during lockdown took quite some doing, but we did it. Thank you, Hatim and our friends in Khartoum. I'm delighted that one benefit of doing this event online is that you're able to join us from Sudan. Of course, that first delivery is only the start. Whilst COVID remains a threat, we will keep on with our soap appeal. But there's more. We're not an emergency organisation. 270 more families now have a donkey. We've provided 1,440 goats so far this year. There are more to come. Children in those 270 families have blankets to cuddle up under at night. And mothers in 20 more villages know that childbirth will be so much safer for them thanks to 40 new midwives. We provided veterinary care in all our new villages by training paravets and providing veterinary drugs. And you may have read of the disastrous floods in Sudan. Many families lost all they owned. The most urgent need was for jerry cans to carry water, so we provided 500. And the aftermath of the floods has left vast areas of standing water, breeding ground for mosquitoes. We've already provided 2,356 mosquito nets this year, and 3,000 more are on their way. And what of the future? Well, whilst you're thinking of your Christmas trees, in Darfur, we've planted 10,000 tree seedlings and are working on establishing 3 new community forests. The future will be green in Darfur. Kids for Kids is certainly not slowing down. Far from letting the restrictions caused by COVID curtail our activities, we now have two wonderful new fundraisers, Charlotte and Anna, doing all they can to persuade you to buy more goats. Lucy has just become my PA and starts in the new year. And I'd like to thank their predecessors, Sage and Sarah, for all they've done to enable Kids for Kids to make such a difference. Mary Jane, our volunteer in America, despite having long COVID herself, continues to make sure our friends in the United States are kept up to date with our news. I'm so pleased that all of you are with us tonight. And of course, thank you to our wonderful Queensgate School and to Ros Kamaric, head teacher, for your support. Thank you, girls, for your beautiful singing. Our exciting new team has already started work on our 20th anniversary celebrations next year. It's hard to believe that we'll be celebrating our 20th birthday. Please will you plan a party or event too, and help introduce us to new friends. We all deserve to celebrate after this year. And what could be a better excuse than celebrating what Kids for Kids continues to do to change the lives of children who need us so much. Let's make 2021 a year to remember. Happy Christmas, everyone.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this wonderful carol service on behalf of Kids for Kids and the work they do with the people of Sudan. And we do pray that you and your families will have a wonderful Christmas this year, and we look forward to seeing you again in person next year. Will you please stand for the blessing? The Lord be with you, and also with you. May the joy of the angels, the eagerness of the shepherds, the perseverance of the wise men, the obedience of Joseph and Mary, and the peace of the Christ child be with you this night. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be among you and remain with you always. Amen. Go in the light and peace of Christ. Thanks be to God.